Hello, good morning, good afternoon, happy birthday, good evening, and welcome to this A Level Philosophy 2026 paper 2. This one, question predictions. Just going to get the small print out of the way first, as usual. So this video is going out early to patrons of my Patreon, RPE with Dr. T. If you paid for it on Patreon through a subscription or a one-off payment, please don't share it beyond yourself, because these videos are one of the ways that I make money. And if you value the content, please respect that and don't share it beyond yourself. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all to say. And there'll be a free version that goes out on YouTube nearer the time of the exam as well. Right, let's get into it. Metaphysics of God predictions. So this traditionally, because it's the area of philosophy that I know best and have studied most, is where my predictions are most often correct. We've gotten lucky, or divine providence has intervened many times in the past with correct guesses. Could all go wrong this year. Sometimes you have an off year and it doesn't work. But yeah, I have most confidence of all the different sections of the paper on this, which balances out my metaphysics of mind predictions, because I'm least confident about those. But hopefully, yeah, those will balance each other out for this video. What do we think? So yeah, 3 markers are on some kind of definition. There's just so many definitions though in Metaphysics of God. It's really hard to pin it down. Maybe some more ideas on that on the next slide, but no, even then, not really. It's going to be some sort of definition. Yeah, eternal, everlasting. They've started repeating that. Here are all the sort of typical definitions that you could ask about, but really there's tons. It's only a 3 marker. I can tell you more of use about 5 markers though. So there is actually, because of the amount, because of the nature of Metaphysics of God and what's on the specification, in terms of actual original arguments for the existence of God, there is actually very little they have not yet asked about in a short answer question, and they need to ask about all of the specification in the life cycle of this exam, of these exam papers. And so actually the one argument that they have not yet asked about in a short answer question is the Kalam cosmological argument. So to my mind, that means it absolutely has to come up in 2026. It's all that's left. It would be very surprising if it didn't. Again, it might not. They might know that this is obvious and that people guess things and therefore avoid it. But to be honest, yeah, that nature of philosophy exam, you can know exactly what's coming and still not do it very well, especially in 25 markers, which is why you should watch my other revision videos as well, and exam technique videos. But basically, we can put lots of, we can make a confident bet that the Kalam is going to come up this year. It would be weird if it doesn't. It would be kind of, I'd be upset if it didn't. So yeah, go and watch my Metaphysics of God revision video, which talks about the Kalam argument. Remember, original form from Al-Ghazali, and then William Lane Craig's editions, useful to know about. Then it gets a bit more general and vague, I'm afraid. So yeah, more criticisms of arguments, because they tend to ask about criticisms of arguments, if they're not just asking about other arguments for the existence of God, in 5 marks and 12 mark questions. Yeah, so there are lots of those though they still haven't covered, because there are lots of those on the specification. So more on that on next slide. Let's talk about the 25 marker though. So I got it right last year with teleological arguments, and the year before with religious language. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it right this year, but my money would be on concept of God, because it's so long since that's appeared. Yeah, if you look at the ones that are furthest to go in time, language, but we had that 2 years ago. Design, but we had that last year. So most likely to be concept of God, then ontological arguments, then problem of evil, then cosmological. So it just goes in that direction. Therefore, top 2 picks concept of God or ontological argument. They seem to be nice and predictable with Metaphysics of God, maybe because it's the first part of the second paper, and then it's supposed to get harder, perhaps. But yeah, like I said before, you can know exactly what's coming and still write a rubbish essay. So make sure you've really thought about how to write a good, well-structured, argumentative and an analytical essay on these things, especially. And you know, I'm going to make my students, my school students, do an ontological, sorry, as well as a concept of God and ontological essay, a problem of evil essay, and a cosmological essay. So sorry guys. Probably I won't do religious language or design. That's kind of overkill. If I was really being perfectionist, I would do religious language, but who wants to be a perfectionist? Good enough is good enough. Yeah, let's keep going to the next slide. Okay, so like I say, this slide just illustrates that the only things they haven't yet asked about in Metaphysics of God exam papers, and so are most likely to come up, are the Kalam cosmological argument, and then actually all the criticisms of arguments for the existence of God, except these ones: the fallacy of composition criticism of cosmological arguments, the unique case objection to teleological arguments, that was a tough one that year, and empiricist objections to ontological arguments. They have asked about those before, so they are less likely, they are very unlikely to ask about them again, or anytime soon, at least. And just as an illustration, to show that this works, this is a tried and tested method, go back and watch previous videos if you don't believe me, if you've got the time. Aquinas' second way, Hicksell making defense, and Mitchell on religious language were all on the list last year of things they hadn't yet asked about, so I predicted those, and look, all of them got crossed off. So it's just Kalam that's left. By the way, just make the point as well, this bullet point doesn't mean they will definitely ask about a criticism of an argument for the existence of God. It could be something else. And because sometimes they just fill up the 12 markers with aspects of arguments for the existence of God. So they might start repeating, they might just be repeating those, or aspects of the concept of God, or aspects of religious language or the problem of evil. So I guess arguments against the existence of God in the last case, and theodicies. So it's still revise everything, it's always revise everything, I'm afraid, except maybe if it was on last year's paper, these ones, you don't need to concentrate so much on those. Also because they wouldn't feed into 25 likely 25 markers. Okay, hopefully I've said lots of helpful stuff there rather than just more stuff to confuse you. Do make sure you use the opportunity, if you're a patron, to message me or comment on this video to ask questions if you have any, or if you're watching this on YouTube later, hit me up there with a comment, though I'm less likely to respond quickly. All right, let's talk about metaphysics of mind then. So, usual disclaimer for me. So metaphysics of mind, I mean, I've done metaphysics of mind stuff for teaching A-level religious studies as well, and sort of tangentially or indirectly studied some of the stuff, but it's the area of philosophy, that the one area that I've on the A-level philosophy that I have not studied myself in a formal examined way in my various degrees and study. So I'm least confident about these predictions. It's also the one area of the specification I've not taught, because it's always been shared in schools, and I've always tutored. When I've tutored, it's been people haven't wanted or had help with this one. So big disclaimer: I'm least confident in these, but I do seem to get it right sometimes. Okay, there's at least one smiley face on here, which is my signal to myself that I've made a guess right. So take this with a pinch of salt, like everything, but an especially large helping of salt for this set of predictions. Right, let's get on with the actual predictions. So as usual, a 3-marker, who knows, could be on absolutely anything, but why not the intentionality of mental states, because that seems to me something that hasn't been asked about as a 3-marker that could be sensible to ask about. I think I guessed that last year though, so yeah, it's not a strong guess. And yeah, look, okay, I'm sorry, it's getting quite vague already, but don't worry, see the next slide for a bit more detail. Maybe a repeat of something already asked about for a 5-marker, because they seem to have covered quite a lot when it comes to simpler things in metaphysics of mind, like not criticisms of other arguments. But also, why not an issue not yet asked about as it gets more complicated down the paper? So, sorry, yeah, I'm really going to have to refer you to the next slide for 5s and 12s on this one. But let's take the opportunity to talk about the 25-marker. What have they been so far? They've been these. Therefore, what is most likely to come up in 2026? Well, 99% certainty, not functionalism, because they have in however many years, in 7, 8 years, yeah, 8 years of setting these questions for exam papers, they have never yet repeated a 25-marker from year to year, except from specimen to first examination way back in 2019. Other times they just have not done it, so it's not going to be a 25-marker on functionalism. Of that you could be confident. 2026 cohort. So therefore what? Well, why not dualism? It's been a while since we had some dualism, but also we know, because of what dualism is related to, other things, that they are capable of repeating something that's been asked about 1, 2, 3 years ago, like they've done that with virtue ethics and moral philosophy. So maybe mind-brain type identity theory again, could be, but most likely to be dualism, I think, based on what we've seen and based on the way that the different metaphysics of mind units, topics correspond with one another. That's my best guess. Something dualism related. Let's look at the next slide. Okay, areas of metaphysics of mind that do not seem, okay, now I'm saying not just have not, but don't seem to me, not being as much of a specialist, to have come up yet in any of the shorter exam questions. Intentionality of mental states, hence my guess for a 3 marker, but any of these could be 3s, 5s, or 12s. These are the most likely things for 3, 5s, and 12s. Responses to the Cartesian indivisibility argument. Responses to the conceivability argument. These are more likely candidates for 12 markers responses, as in fact any responses, sorry, because 12 markers are harder than 5 markers. And so 5 markers tend to be arguments, hence, or sorry, initial ideas, if you want to put it like that, of philosophers, theories, hence the idea on the previous slide, a repetition of something already asked about before. But then second 5 markers, so the second of the 5 markers and second part of 12 markers tend to be about responses because it's more difficult. So these are more likely for later 5s and 12s. Also, yeah, the other 2 responses to the zombie argument that haven't been asked, one of them has been asked about already. You'll see that on the previous slide if you go back to the table. Similarly with Knowledge Mary, the other 2 responses to Knowledge Mary, one has been asked about before, so the ones asked about before are less likely to appear in 2026. The analogy response to the problem of other minds, other issues that have been asked before about interactionist dualism or with interactionist dualism, the other 2 responses to epiphenomenalist dualism, other responses to physicalism, dualist arguments applied to mind-brain type identity theory, other issues with eliminative materialism, and other issues with functionalism. So yeah, you have to do a little bit more work here because you need to, if you want to really drill down on what's like leave out what's less likely to come up, you need to look back at the table that was on the previous slide and work out which ones have been asked about already. So I've kind of condensed it here, but hopefully still that is of worth and use to you whenever you're and however you're watching this. I hope it has been of use to you. Please let me know if so. And yeah, God luck in the exam. Have lots of fun and all the best for your no doubt bright future. Take care out there.